This is Learning with Coach History. Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth of five lessons in the series on the 1910s and 1920s in Oklahoma. Today we'll discuss the Tulsa race riots. One of the worst race riots to ever occur in the United States happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In this lesson, we'll see what caused the riot as well as what happened in its aftermath. The vocab: precipitated, apprehended, exaggerated, and altercation. Between the years of 1910 and 1920, the city of Tulsa was experiencing enormous growth. The population was soaring as people from all over the country made their way to Tulsa to find work in the blossoming oil industry. As Tulsa grew, Greenwood grew as well. Greenwood was the African American district just north of Tulsa. By 1921, Greenwood had a population of more than 15,000 and a host of successful businesses including doctors, lawyers, movie theaters, hotels, and restaurants. Its business district was so successful that Greenwood had become known throughout the nation as the Black Wall Street. Greenwood had become the wealthiest African American community in the nation. Many poor whites living in Tulsa became jealous of the success Greenwood was experiencing. Young men had returned from fighting in World War I and were unable to find work in Tulsa. This mounting frustration greatly contributed to the events that would occur on May 31st and June 1st of 1921. On May 30th, 1921, a 19-year-old African American shoe shiner named Dick Rowland entered an elevator in the Drexel building. The elevator operator was a 17-year-old white female named Sarah Page. It's unclear what happened, but experts speculate that Dick Rowland lost his balance and reached out to stabilize himself. Miss Page believed she was being assaulted and screamed, which caused Mr. Rowland to run away in fear. Rowland was apprehended by the police and charged with assault. This incident was reported by the Tulsa Tribune in an exaggerated and sensational fashion. In turn, a group of angry white citizens arrived at the courthouse that evening with the intentions of hanging Dick Rowland. Likewise, a large group of blacks arrived at the courthouse with the purpose of protecting Rowland. Tensions were high between the two groups and a scuffle broke out. During the altercation, shots were fired. Suddenly, the entire city erupted into a sea of violence. The white mob crossed the railroad tracks into Greenwood and began leveling the community. Firebombs were thrown at businesses and homes were burned to the ground, sometimes with families still trapped inside. Many people were shot as they attempted to run away, while others were dragged to death behind vehicles. Black citizens did not intend to stand idly by while their homes were destroyed and neighbors were killed, so they fought back. Some who had recently returned from fighting in Europe began digging trenches and fortifying positions. Greenwood virtually became a war zone. By the morning of June 1st, Greenwood had been turned into a smoking pile of rubble. The mayor of Tulsa had appealed to the Oklahoma governor to send the National Guard. However, the National Guard did not arrive until late in the morning of June 1st. By this time, most of the fighting had died down. Black rioters were rounded up by the thousands and taken to detention centers. The official death toll from the riot was 39. However, many bodies were hidden or disposed of before they could be counted. Historians estimate that the actual number of dead could be as high as 300. More than 800 were wounded. 35 city blocks were destroyed by fire. This included 191 businesses, a junior high, several churches, and a hospital. More than 10,000 Greenwood residents were left homeless. Dick Rowland was never charged with a crime. Sarah Page dropped the charges against him, and Rowland was escorted from Tulsa shortly after the riot and never returned to the city. Following the Tulsa race riot, there was a concentrated effort to omit the incident from state and local history. Newspaper articles about the riot were destroyed, and it was rarely mentioned in state history books. Many residents of the state grew up without knowing the violence had ever occurred. Finally, in 1996, the state created a commission to study the riot and create a historical account so that the memory of the events could be preserved. The city of Greenwood never recovered completely. It took more than 10 years to rebuild the area. Today, this region is known as North Tulsa.